Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
The On-Course podcast is an IVM production, and if you like the show, check out the Empowering series, a show that will help you face challenges in your personal and professional life with life coach Zarina, who in season 1 talks about how you can be a better boss.
You're listening to the On-Course podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the On-Course podcast. On-Course is a creative and alternate education company that aims to bridge the gap between formal classroom education and real-world skills. We offer a range of programs from short skill-based courses to test prep to application assistance for those who are looking to study abroad. My name is Alisha Mashruwala and I'm the CEO and co-founder at On-Course.
Hi guys, my name is Akhil Daswani. I'm the COO and co-founder at On-Course. And today in the studio, we have with us Ashna Nasta, Senior Associate and Head of UPrep at On-Course.
Hi guys. Hi Ashna, nice to have you in the studio.
So guys, today we're going to go over the Oxbridge applications, which is essentially, a shorthand for Oxford and Cambridge applications. So just to sort of give our listeners an overview, right? Can a student apply to both Oxford and Cambridge?
So typically when you're applying to colleges in the UK, you specify which of the two you would want to apply to. You cannot apply to both Oxford and Cambridge for an undergraduate program. Postgraduate, it's completely different, but from the undergraduate standpoint, it's either or.
Yes, so I think for today's discussion, we'll keep it focused on the undergraduate application. So if someone is debating about applying for a specific course, how do they decide which one they should choose?
The best way to see is to understand what course you want to do and then read up about the course in both the colleges, Oxford and Cambridge. Typically, kids who are really passionate about economics, they tend to apply to Cambridge, and typically kids who are interested in more humanities-based subjects like maybe psychology or English tend to apply to Oxford. And even with engineering, a lot of kids do lean towards Cambridge, but ultimately it's a personal choice which one you want to apply to. So talking to students who are already at those colleges or actually browsing through the website is a good place to start.
Is there one college that's easier than the other?
Not at all. They're both equally hard, and it really depends where you feel you fit better.
Okay, so just to sort of, for our listeners who are preparing their applications, right, what are the steps that they need to sort of watch out for?
So typically when you're applying to the UK in general, you will apply through a portal called the UCAS. So Oxford or Cambridge, depending on whichever one you choose, will also go via the UCAS. The important thing to note if you are considering any of these two colleges is the deadline for UCAS becomes a lot earlier than what it typically would be. So for those who are looking to apply to Oxford or Cambridge, they need to be able to submit the application by October 15th of their senior year, so that's grade 12 at the latest. So that's one very important factor. The second thing in the UK is that it's very important that you know exactly what you want to study. So when you apply to any of the programs, whether at Oxford, Cambridge, or whether you're applying to Imperial, LSE, or UCL, you actually know exactly what you want to study, because you will be applying for a specific course rather than to the college as a whole. So if you choose to apply for engineering, you'll probably be choosing a specific type of engineering that you want to study or apply to. The one thing with Cambridge is the engineering programs, of course, are one of the best in the world. They do give students the opportunity to kind of apply for a general engineering program, and then while they're at Cambridge, take a call in terms of what type of engineering they want to do, which is very different from, say, Imperial, where you have to choose what type of engineering program you want to go in for.
Awesome. In terms of like other standardized tests that a student needs to take, is the SAT or ACT required for Oxbridge?
So the SAT or the ACT is not required for Oxbridge. The UK as a whole does require you to take some sort of an English entrance exam, and currently, from a visa perspective, you need to take the IELTS. It doesn't matter what score you get in the IELTS, that's not what gets you into college. You just need to cross the minimum requirement to actually get your admission offer and to get your visa for the UK.
For colleges in Oxford, like Oxford and Cambridge, though, there are additional tests that students would typically have to take. These tests are more academic. It sort of depends on what subject you're going to be applying for. So say, for example, if you were to apply for economics and management at Oxford, there's an exam called the TSA, which you will be taking to actually complete your application for Oxford. If you're applying for engineering or computer science at Cambridge, there's usually a pre-engineering test that you would have to do in order to actually apply for that program. If you're applying for law, you would have to take the LNAT exam. So depending on what program you're applying to at Oxford or Cambridge, you will have a standardized test that you would have to take. Most of the students will take the standardized test around October or November of their grade 12 year. So that's their year of application.
Awesome. And so obviously, just like the UK and Oxbridge, you would choose one specific course to apply to. So how do you prepare for these standardized tests or these specific subject-based exams?
So typically, since they are subject-based, you will have a few practice tests that you can do online. So for the TSA or for the LNAT or for the pre-engineering, there are practice tests, there are sample papers that you can find online as well on the college website. That's the best way to prepare. There's no additional reading material or required material that you would need to do. So it's very different than like how you would prepare for an SAT or ACT, which is more just an aptitude-based test. Here, they're testing your knowledge more than anything else in that particular area of subject.
Awesome. And so let's assume the student, does well on this test. What's the next step?
So the next step is that they get called for an interview, which happens in person in Oxford or Cambridge, which is typically in December. So again, that interview is also very subject focused. Typically, they also give you some reading material to go through in October, November before you actually come in for the interview. So for example, if you're applying for engineering or you're applying for math, they actually test your problem solving abilities in person. So they will put forward a sum or a situation in front of you and see how you actually solve it. So unlike the US, where the interviews are very generic and they want to know you as a person, here they actually want to know how you are suited or adapted for that particular course you're interested in.
And with Oxbridge, they're very particular, and so they want to put you on the spot, right? They want to see how you actually tackle a difficult situation. So there may very often be sums or situations that you actually don't have the answer to, but it's more the steps and the thought process that goes behind it and the logic behind it. That's what they're testing.
Awesome. How important is the statement of purpose for Oxford or Cambridge?
So the SOP for Oxbridge is as important as it would be for any other UK university. It needs to be very, very subject specific. So again, to give you an example, if you're applying for economics, your entire SOP should be why economics and what you've done in the past towards your interest in economics and what you plan to do with it in future. They are going to take the SOP very seriously, and you need to make sure it's grammatically correct, well structured, and within the word count given to you on UCAS.
And it's really important as part of the statement of purpose that you add in, maybe things like books that you've read or just something that showcases your knowledge in that area. And that's kind of where Oxford and Cambridge is very particular about it. So any program that you may be applying to, if you check the course website of Oxford or Cambridge, they will have recommended reading lists. You can be almost certain that something about that is going to come up in the test or an interview, or, they expect to see that in your statement of purpose as well.
Awesome. So for someone younger who's trying to plan out for Oxbridge applications, right, what should they be doing besides obviously primarily studying?
Studying, of course. But besides that, I think it's very important for them to start identifying what type of program they would want to apply for. Because ultimately in the UK, you are kind of bound and restricted to what you decide you want to study. So at a younger age, the more you read up about different areas, topic areas of interest, the better it is, because you're going to have a much better idea of what you might want to study going forward. And when you're applying to Oxford or Cambridge, they are going to test your knowledge. So the more you read at this stage, the better it is. So I can't stress that enough for anyone, who is in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, kind of really work on that reading bit of it.
Awesome. In terms of the recommendation letters, is there anything specific that Oxford or Cambridge asks for that other colleges don't?
So while the recommendation letter is the same, it's what the counsellor uploads on UCAS itself that goes to Oxford and Cambridge. But along with the recommendation letter, there's an additional form as well that goes in for Cambridge, which is called the COPA, which is a specific Cambridge application form where there'll be more personal questions and also a short para, or rather a short essay where you talk about why Cambridge. And that's also where you select which Cambridge college you'll be applying to.
And does Oxford have something similar?
So Oxford doesn't have its own separate application. You have to just do the UCAS.
All right, guys, we'll take a short break. We're in conversation about the Oxbridge applications.
That was Tantrik Steve from Hansraj College, Delhi, performing at IIT Bombay's Mood Indigo. Just like them, there's a lot of new talent and art coming out of colleges all across India, but unfortunately most of this goes completely unnoticed or ignored. To fix this, we started atkt.in. Hi, I'm Ankur. I'm a musician and a rapper. And I found that one of the best things about being an artist myself is finding new talent. Through atkt.in, Tanya, my colleague who's a dancer, and our whole team really is putting all of our efforts into discovering and promoting all the coolest talent that's coming out of colleges all across India. And this goes up on our website, our social media, TV, radio, and now, of course, this podcast with IVM. Make sure you go to our website, support the talent with your likes, your shares, your comments. All of that really matters. Go ahead, check it out. atkt.in.
Hi guys, welcome back. We're in conversation about the Oxbridge applications. So Alicia, I was just, I think one of the things which a lot of children tend to ask, when they're debating about their course, is like courses like economics, which are really strong in both Oxford and Cambridge, right? How do they make the decision about which one to apply to?
So typically, if you look at the contents of the economics course at Oxford and Cambridge, they're fairly different. Cambridge, the economics program is a little bit more quant heavy, a little bit more math heavy. More statistics involved as well, so it's pure economics. In Oxford, they don't have a pure economics program. So the Oxford course is actually called Economics and Management. So the content of the course is a little bit different. So for those who are taking a decision between those two, I would recommend that they go through the structure, in the first year, second year, and third year, what each of the programs cover. If they're very strong at math and if they feel like, they'd prefer a quant-heavy program, then maybe Cambridge may be a better option.
Awesome. So Ashna, once a student passes the interview stage, right, what is the next step?
The next step is that you just wait till you hear back from Oxford or Cambridge, and they'll typically get back to you with a condition. So say, for example, you've applied for engineering and you get into Cambridge. They'll give you a condition.
So not every student gets a condition?
Not every student gets a condition. It depends on how good or bad your interview was and how good or bad your grades were. And everything together is what gives you the condition.
And
Awesome.
typically what I would say is with Oxford and Cambridge, that's how they filter their applications as well. So step one would be you submit the application. Second step would be, once you've done the test, the colleges will filter out the students who've done really well in the test and then call them in for an interview. And then once you've done the interview is when they'll actually take a call on whether they want to give you the conditional offer or not.
This is quite different from the rest of the UK colleges, right?
Absolutely, because the rest of the UK colleges will look at it as a, complete holistic one-piece application where they'll look at the application and then take a call in terms of whether they would give you a conditional offer or not based on your grades and your statement of purpose. So most of the other UK colleges do not have any other additional tests or interviews. Of course, that varies if you're applying for a very specific program like medicine or law. That's completely different as well.
So I assume a student who's capable of getting into an Oxford or Cambridge is also capable of getting into some of the top schools in the US or Canada or Singapore. How would those kind of colleges compare with Oxford or Cambridge?
Academically, they'd all be at par, right? At the end of the day, you're going to get a very good education, whether you're at a top college in the US or UK or Canada or Singapore. What's different is the structure of education. So with the UK and Singapore both, they tend to be a little bit more on the academic side. The courses are a little bit more structured, a little less flexible, whereas with US and Canada, you've got a lot more freedom to kind of explore amongst different course areas. So for students who are kind of and this is a debate that a lot of students have as well, whether, if they get into colleges like Cambridge and Oxford versus, say, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, very often they take that call based on how flexible they want their program to be and how sure they are about a particular course they want to study.
Awesome. Is there something which younger students can sort of start doing at this stage?
In general, what I will tell students to kind of keep in mind, Oxford and Cambridge have very high academic requirements. So it's very important that you continue to study, do really well in your exams. They typically will look at your grade 10 finals. So that would be either your ICSE or IGCSE, depending on what board or curriculum that you're doing. And they'll look at your grade 12 predicted grades. What's very important, though, is to note that Cambridge, for a lot of their courses, does not accept the Indian curriculum and the Indian board. So with Cambridge, they typically don't accept ISC students. They will actually require you to take either the APs, which are your advanced placement exams, to actually be considered for some of their programs. Oxford, on the other hand, does give ISC students a fairly good shot of getting in as well. So that's something you definitely want to keep in mind, especially when selecting a particular board that you might want to study for grade 11 and grade 12.
So Cambridge is completely out for all ISC students?
Typically, yes, in the sense if you haven't done your APs, then it's very difficult to get in. There are certain exceptions that they do make with engineering programs. If you are applying for an IIT entrance exam, they do actually consider your IIT entrance exams as well. But for anyone who is keen on applying to Cambridge, I would recommend they do 5 APs along with their ISC or whichever curriculum or board they study.
Wouldn't that be really hard though?
It is difficult, but if you are going to apply to Cambridge and you want to consider that, I think it makes sense. At the same time, the AP curriculum is fairly similar to what you'll be studying in school. So you could take your APs in subjects like math, physics, chemistry, computer science. So subjects that you're probably strong at depending on the course you want to study.
Just to recap this for our listeners, what exactly are the APs?
So the APs, as Alicia said, are advanced placement exams, which is typically what the kids studying in the US take. There are more specific exams in that particular subject you're interested in. So, for example, calculus, there are 2 levels as A, B, and BC. And if you're interested in math, those are 2 good APs you should take. Then the sciences also have that particular APs. So, depending on the school you are in, there are also AP classes available. And you can study for those exams, which happen every year in May.
So essentially it's an American curriculum.
It is an American curriculum, yes.
Awesome. So what about the state boards like HSC? Does Oxbridge, have a preference for them?
So typically Oxford and Cambridge both actually don't accept the HSC test exams. They would prefer you come from a state board, so CBSE, ISC. In the case of Oxford. And Cambridge, if you are doing the HSC but you are doing APs, you would submit your AP test scores and that's where you would get your conditional or unconditional offer. For Oxford, you could do the same thing in order to be considered as an HSC student.
Interesting. So if someone wants to go to Oxbridge, they should probably not go to junior college.
It may be better to do that because with junior college, it's going to be very hard for you to kind of get into these 2 particular colleges. But again, if you are doing the IIT exams, then Cambridge will consider your IIT rank as well as a potential indication of whether you'd be a good fit for them.
So would it be fair to say that Oxbridge prefers kids who come from the IB or A levels?
A little bit, yes. So I would say typically with most colleges in the UK, it's not like that at all. They will accept all boards, all curriculums. With Oxbridge, it's either the international curriculum of IB A levels or your state curriculums of ISC or CBSE.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, guys. It was really great chatting with you.
Okay. If you guys have any further questions on Oxford or Cambridge and want to know some more information, you can contact us at info@oncourseglobal.com. You could visit our website, www.oncourseglobal.com, or follow us on Facebook or Twitter.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी.
बोलिए मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, ड्रिंक्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर जकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.